What up, everybody? One thing about Brayden Weston is that he stays in his own world. You might have a whole conversation with him, and Brayden didn't hear a word that you said. He was spaced out, daydreaming about something, completely zoned out. I'm not saying he's the dumbest character on the whole show, but he's definitely not the smartest. When we were first introduced to Effie at Choate, she straight up told Tariq she knows that Brayden isn't smart enough to do this by himself. She has known him for 4 years, and he still can't even say her last name right. But over time, Brayden has learned how to make his weakness a strength by using the fact that people underestimate him to his advantage. He is the perfect con man because you will never see him coming. Brayden has learned how to utilize Law 21 from the 48 Laws of Power. Seem dumber than your mark. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. The 48 Laws of Power says, given how important the idea of intelligence is to most people's vanity, it is important to never inadvertently impugn or insult a person's brain power. That is an unforgivable sin. But if you can make this iron rule work for you, it opens up all sorts of avenues for deception. Observance of the law number 1. Brayden gets Tariq to start moving weight at Weston Holdings. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because I already did a Power Moves video on how Brayden moved for the entire episode. I'll put a link to that in the description. But at the beginning of the episode, Brayden had a great idea on how they could move Noma's product. Set up shop on Wall Street. But Tariq and the group quickly shot down Brayden's idea and told him to focus on the country clubs. Since nobody really respects Brayden for his ideas, no one really paid this any mind coming from Brayden. So Brayden went on to apply Power Law number 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Since telling Tariq about Weston Holdings didn't work, Brayden had to show him. Without going through all the steps, I want to skip to the end where Tariq decides to move weight at Weston Holdings. Brayden plays dumber than his mark to the T. The 48 Laws of Power says, make your victims feel smart and smarter than you are. Once convinced of this, they will never suspect that you have ulterior motives. After discussing how Nick moved weight and everything else, Brayden said, listen, Reek, I heard what you said about not where we eat. I mean, there is other avenues. I already moved 2 bricks at the country clubs. Tariq replied, 2 bricks? And Brayden continued to play stupid and just shook his head with an unconcerned look on his face. Tariq went on to say, how many people are on our floor alone at Weston Holdings? Brayden said at least 30. Then Tariq said, you times that by 50 floors in our building and all the buildings on Wall Street, and the rest is history. So Brayden basically took his idea, showed Tariq it was a good idea, then practically made Tariq think that he came up with the plan in order to get what he wanted. The 48 Laws of Power says when you subliminally reassure people that they are more intelligent than you are, or even that you are a bit of a moron, then you can run circles around them. Getting me to my second example. Brayden Weston burns Jenny Sullivan in court. After being burned by Rashad Tate in court, Jenny turned to the Westons. In the initial meeting, Jenny got to meet Brayden, Trace, and Robert Weston. She saw that Brayden came from privilege and immediately underestimated him. Brayden wasn't really trying to play dumber than Jenny, just clueless about the drug business. But she knew he was lying, so Jenny crept up on Brayden while he was leaving his place and asked Brayden to turn on Kane, gave him her card, and take note of the final thing she did, patted him on the arm. At the point Jenny patted Brayden on the arm, he knew he could get over on her because she underestimated him. Not because of the fact he played dumb, but simply because his age and status. She felt that there is no way that a 19-year-old kid who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, could ever manipulate her. So all Brayden had to do was play on Jenny's preconceived beliefs about him. And he burnt Jenny in court and got Tariq's case dismissed. When you give someone the feeling of intellectual superiority, you will disarm their suspicion muscles. The next example is the front desk worker at the hotel when the crew robbed Mecca. This whole scene is a perfect example of how people underestimate Brayden already without him saying anything. When they got out of his mom's minivan, Effie smirked at Brayden and said, "Thanks, Mom," while Drew was looking at Brayden crazy the whole time, basically shaking his head. Then Brayden went into the hotel lobby and put on a masterclass of being dumber than your mark. Brayden walked into the hotel and said to the man, "I've been looking for you everywhere." And the man said, "How can I help you, sir?" And Brayden replied, "How can you help me? The power's down." The guy at the front desk replied, "We're aware of that. It's being fixed as we speak." In his mind, he's thinking, obviously, does this kid think that the world revolves around him? Then Brayden laughed and said, "I don't think you understand. My PS5, not working." The man said what he was already thinking. "We have slightly larger concerns at the moment." Brayden then said, "Okay, well, I'm an E-athlete, and your only concern at the moment is the giant lawsuit that I'm about to hit you with for the hundreds of thousands I'm losing because you idiots overloaded the grid." Then the man finally said, "Let me go check on an ETA for you." Obviously, he had absolutely no idea that he was being conned. And Drew, Effie, and Lil Guap were all able to sneak into the hotel without being spotted. My next example is when Brayden and Trace got kidnapped by Kane and forced to sell drugs on the streets. When Brayden approached the group of guys, he played completely clueless. He played into their expectations of him and acted completely lost. He never once tried to be something he wasn't by trying to act hard or anything like that. We see he also didn't act scared like Trace did and asked to borrow their phone. He just played dumb and unaware. Then once he pulled out the blunt to smoke, the guys let their guard down. And after he was able to establish a common ground with the group of guys is when he let them know about the product and that he could give them a huge discount. Getting me to my final example, Brayden telling Tariq about the Weston Ponzi scheme. After Tariq told Brayden that they were under investigation for a RICO case, Brayden hit Tariq that Weston Holdings was a Ponzi scheme. After they went back and forth for a minute, Tariq told Brayden, "What do you want me to do about it?" Brayden replied, "I don't know. You always come up with a plan. You have something, right?" By saying this, Brayden put the responsibility on Tariq to figure it out. Because obviously Brayden is not smart enough. Playing dumber than your mark works best on those who are arrogant and overconfident. The Chinese call it masquerading as a swine to kill the tiger. This trick also works if you are ambitious and find yourself low in the hierarchy. Appearing less intelligent than you are, even a bit of a fool, is the perfect disguise. Look harmless and no one will believe that you harbor dangerous ambitions. I know Brayden is able to use this law to his advantage practically effortlessly because he is already underestimated because of his privileged background. But the same principle could be applied to someone in the opposite circumstances also. If you come from the struggle, you can also use this law to your advantage the same way Brayden does. By playing on people's preconceived beliefs about you. Play down your intelligence and even your sophistication. When a person feels more superior to you, they feel more comfortable. Their guard drops down and they don't have to watch what they say and do as much because they don't perceive you as a threat. In general, then, always make people believe they are smarter and more sophisticated than you are. They will keep you around because you make them feel better about themselves. And the longer you are around, the more opportunities you will have to deceive them. One thing I can say about this law, it is for the humble. A person full of pride would never use this law. And there you have it, how Brayden Weston makes his weakness his strength. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.